The story of the blues is pretty much by definition sadness, dissatisfaction, being controlled when you don't want to be, and various negative aspects of life. And the blues is an attempt to process them and create a positive statement, which is actually the blues is turning the bad into good in a way your mind can. And I think that people that have experienced this kind of frustration and powerlessness and resentment of authority and various type stuff are more likely to embrace the blues concept. And actually, I think everybody has a little chaotic raised hell, and they can respond to this.
If I was to ask you to interpret that musically, the spirit of blues,
let's see.
Paint it musically for us. Yeah, definitely feels like rebel music, but also very spiritual as well.
Blues and jazz came from African Americans synthesizing their tribal rhythms and drums with the European music that they learned here in the States. So
to put it in nice terms.
Yeah. But it did create a cultural heritage, which is important to acknowledge. American music is admired and sought throughout the whole world. There's nothing like American music, and the beginnings of it came with the African rhythms and the European harmonies, and it just developed on. I was really had a rare experience. My stepdad had a collection of records that had blues, folk music, Woody Guthrie, Josh White, Lead Belly, all the Alan Lomax stuff. So I grew up listening to that stuff, and I especially like people like Josh White, and I really wanted to copy that guitar, the licks that they did. It seemed so cool to me, and there was some part inside me that responded to those old like folk music and blues records and field hollers and cotton picking songs. This is Charlie Parker. He was called the Yardbird. He was a big change in the history of jazz. Okay, this guy is really influential. Slim Harpo.
Nice.
And he's a blues
guitarist,
blues guy from the 50s.
Slim Harpo. 50s?
Yeah.
And then how old were you when you came across this?
In the 50s, I would have been like in high school.
And then so you were listening to this early on?
Oh, no, junior high.
Yeah.
Junior high.
Huh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Chuck Berry came out. Elvis came out when I was a freshman in high school. No, a junior. The second year of high school, Elvis came out. Second year of junior high. Let me get that straight. This record by Chuck Berry came out when I was in junior high, and it was right there in the record store, and we picked it up and just listened to it, when we were in like 13 years old. Okay, so this guy was a pop star, but he was black.
Mm-hmm.
He reached across all spectrums of the color thing.
Sometimes I will, and again I think I won't. Sometimes I will, and again I think I won't.
I got that record by Savoy Brown.
Alright,
And check this out. It has needle and spoon on it.
needle and spoon.
Remember, I was talking about that earlier.
Oh
back
yeah,
in
yeah.
the day when I pulled the record.
Yeah, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I need a little something to keep my cool. I sleep with the sun and I ride with the moon, but I feel alright with my little spoon. I feel alright with my little spoon. It's difficult sometimes to get my stuff, so if all the people don't get enough help, I sleep with the sun and I ride with the moon, but I feel alright with my little spoon. I feel alright with my little spoon. Don't need no man, I don't need no wine. Cause life is sweet when you hit the main line. I sleep with the sun and I ride with the moon, but I feel alright with my.
Yeah, so we were talking about that eventually you went into the auto paint industry, right? So can you describe to me a little bit of that sort of like decision making process?
Yeah, the way I got into it was at the time, around the time when my wife got pregnant, me and some of my buddies were just working on restoring old cars. We found a 37 Ford pickup in the back of like some woods and bought it for $50 and started restoring it. We thought that we'd be rich because we'd get it done really well and then we'd lease it to Hollywood for old movies. So anyway, prior to '77, I had little experience because we were just messing around in between, quarts of beer, working on the cars, and I learned how to weld and I learned how to do Bondo just as a hobby. And then once I determined that, I knew that a kid was on the way. I didn't know what to do, but I thought, well, the only thing I really know that I can market right now is doing auto body work, and I really don't know that well, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And I started with some jobs that I was capable of, mainly working on moving vans, which are big square trailers, so they don't require a lot of refined skills to make the contour right, and the paint doesn't have to be exactly right. But once I realized I could make money with it, I started studying it really intensely and tried to learn, about painting, and I'd buy all these hot rod magazines and, study them, and I'd see cars going down the street that had dents in them, and I'd say, oh look, there's some money for me,
Yeah.
And I would.
And then in doing that, I think an interesting question for me right now, did you find some sort of like artistic expression of your own, kind of like in that realm? Did you discover maybe like some innate artistic talents that you had, or you think it was more like you were applying techniques as a job and that's it?
Well, I was I was trying to accumulate the skills needed for auto body in just as a means to make money. I didn't have a passion for it, but I've been able to use the skills of welding and painting and Bondo and forming shapes subsequently in other things I put in effort into. So to answer your questions, yes and no. I didn't start off wanting to have artistic expression, but as I evolved and became more skillful, I applied it to other projects that were more interesting.
Yeah, so, and then some of those skills are some of the skills that you apply into your guitar craftsmanship, aren't they? Yeah.
Metal forming?
Yeah, metal forming, and then
painting.
Your understanding of shapes and shaping things and aerodynamic sort of like designs and stuff, right?
And using welding skills to bend metal and shape it and form acoustic properties, at least the way I imagined it. And the auto body thing was a great transition for me in all kinds of facets of life.
That is awesome.
To me. Guitars up till now have been refinements of concepts that have existed, like since the 50s. But I'm taking the concept of the 50s and moving it back into like prehistorical times, not more sophisticated electronics, but in the actual way that the guitar samples the tone is based on the construction of the guitar. Yeah, and actually I got a patent on my design.
That is amazing. You want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that? Like, when did you file the patent?
I filed patent, I think it was about like 75 or so.
Wow, was this around your first guitar, when you made your first guitar, or you had?
Oh, no, I was making guitars earlier than that, about maybe 3 years earlier.
Okay, so
And then I was doing auto body work, and my patent attorney had a Pontiac Le Mans, and I was restoring that, making it look nice in
Yeah.
exchange for him working on my patent. So that way I could afford to have the legal help
that's awesome.
that I needed to get the patent, and they refused me twice, and my attorney had me write why I thought the refusal was invalid.
Yeah.
And on the third time, the patent examiner accepted it, and I got the patent. The thing that got me over the hump was to say that my design affected the tone of the guitar. The pickup switch, it switches between pickups. This is a bridge. This is a knob, and
Cool.
the main purpose is my name's Nick Hoffman. I was born in Boston, and I grew up in the LA area, and started playing music. My mom started giving me guitar lessons when I was about 10 years old, and I always hated them, but now I'm so grateful that she made me sit in the corner and practice. The Telecaster is one of the first electrical designs ever made, and the first prototypes were made in 1948. And it is a benchmark of American guitar concept. And so to demonstrate the guitars we are making, here is a Brian Jones tribute, and with the Telecaster sound in mind, check this out.